Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 44 of Excel TV. How you doing, Sylvia?
I'm doing great, Rick. Always a great day when it's time for Excel TV. What do you think about that, Jordan?
Oh, I'm happy. Now, it is true that this is taking me away from the Cavs game, but they will beat the Raptors tonight, so that's not going to be a problem. How are you, Danielle?
Hey, I'm good.
This is Rick, rickrantham.com, also of Excel.tv. Tonight, here in the Northeast Florida headquarters of Excel TV, brought to you by Power Shake, because it's summertime, folks. It's time to get your spreadsheet slimmed up. Because that's what you do. You can't have fat models running around.
No, it's true. You do. You got to streamline them.
Got to streamline. So first up, the Excel challenge of the week. Jordan, over to you.
Okay, so let's jump to our challenge here, and we'll see if it comes up. I usually use two screens, but sometimes I use one screen, and you know what happens, it begins in PowerPoint. So I asked you last week, what is the range in the center of an Excel 2013 spreadsheet? I said it could be a cell or a range. Give me either. So I'm not going to even try to read this to you, but you can see it here. It's a very specific range, and we had a few answers for this. A few people got it right. So I'm going by the online screen name Snook. That's what you wrote online. So congratulations to you. I'll follow up to you privately via email, and we'll talk about what you won. We have a few things. I have my my Advanced Excel Essentials ebook. So there's always a choice to choose that, and a few other things. So we'll follow up and let you know. So let's turn to this week's fun question. We've all heard of Clippy. Here's our question. You've heard of Clippy the Paperclip. I just want to know who this green little parrot is. So tell me who this is in our comments on Facebook, on this show page, and on Twitter, anywhere where you find Excel TV. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and hopefully you saw it this time. What a night. So back to you, Rick.
It looks like one of the Angry Birds.
It does, and that bird will make you angry, much in the same way Clippy did.
A little something for the millennials there.
Absolutely.
So next up, our Excel guest. Gosh, we met our guest, Danielle Stein Fairhurst, at the past Business Analytics Conference just a few weeks ago. And certainly she's been around the industry for quite some time. I guess opening up her LinkedIn group, gosh, 2000 and when was it, Danielle? A long time ago.
2009, yeah.
So you've been in this industry for quite a bit, creating training, et cetera. And whenever I first got into building models, I didn't know that financial modeling was kind of a thing. It was like 1998 or so.
Yeah.
My job was to move things out of Lotus into Excel and to create the macros and try to figure out how do I re-engineer things. This is before I even knew financial modeling was a thing. But I was doing exactly that. I was building MPV models, et cetera, just moving them on.
Exactly.
How has financial modeling, how's that been a career for you? I mean, what brings you to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that it was a thing. I mean, I was working in investment banking in the UK, like how Aussies always like to travel. So I spent about 3 years working in London, and I discovered Excel, and I fell in love and met my husband. No, I fell in love with Excel, but then I met my husband, and we came back to Australia eventually. But that's where I first met Excel. Was working in banking, and I was just playing around in Excel, but I was actually doing financial modeling. I just didn't realize that's what you called it.
So how do you go from doing financial modeling largely in banking, and there's another Australian lady, Minda Tracy, who was also in banking, et cetera, and then kind of made the transition online as well. How did you go about making that transition from being a person working in a bank to deciding, I'm going to try to make a career out of this outside of my 9-to-5 job?
Yeah, it was a really big change, because you're sort of going from working in it, actually working in Excel all day, every day, to deciding that you're going to talk about it and blog about it and write about it and actually teach it. So it was quite a big change, and I actually really enjoy that that mix now. I sort of do both, and it's fantastic because you kind of get the two sides of it.
Wow, that's very interesting. So, something that's always sort of stuck with me, you said, well, I was just using Excel, and then we called it financial modeling. Since when I was working on my own, and I would do models of really any type, particularly people would say, well, do you have a background in financial modeling? Do you have a background in real estate development modeling, background in operations modeling? But at the end of the day, it was just kind of modeling, right? And I think of the financial modeling, it would get even really funny because people would say, well, do you have any banking experience? Do you have any energy, oil and gas experience? But it all really felt very similar at the end of the day. Was data. Is that what you found?
Yeah, and I mean, I talk. One of the videos that I've got on my blog is about talking about the skills that you need to be a good financial modeler, and Excel skills obviously is right up there as number one. But you've also got industry knowledge, and that's where, when people are asking you, do you know oil and gas, do you know electricity, do you know this, do you know that, what they're really asking is, can you actually apply your modeling skills to that particular industry? And that's the thing I personally find difficult because I work as a consultant, as a generic financial modeler, and so I kind of dip in and out of lots of different industries. I've worked in telecoms and banking and financial services and just so many different airlines, just so many different industries. And the kind of models that you're building, although you're still using Excel, you're still analyzing data, it's all, the concepts and the principles and the best practices are the same, but there are certain technical things that are going to be different. So specific pricing, for example, or the way that you structure the cash flow, or the way that the way that you're going to model it, and regional things like tax, and I do a lot of work in the Middle East, and there's no tax. I don't have to worry about that. But there's certain things that are about the model that you need to know a lot more than just Excel. Yeah.
And so what's funny, because when I was consulting on my own, I'm not anymore, but I would dip in and out of these different areas, and I really enjoyed it because every new area was a challenge. But when people did ask me, they say, well, you've not had an experience, and you're not a real estate. I remember one client said, well, you don't really know anything about real estate, and I had said, well, you guys know everything about real estate. You need help with financial modeling, and I know that. So I don't want to be you, and you don't want to be me if you, you need my help. So that's what I found.
Yeah, something I always say to people is here are all the skills that you need in order to be a good financial modeler, but you're going to be strong in some of those and weaker in other of those, and so you can beg, borrow, and steal a lot of those skills. And I often, when I'm working with the clients, I say, we're going to do this together. I'm going to provide the technical skills, so I'm going to, you're going to know that my formulas are right, you're going to know that my structure is sound, you're going to know that the financial model works really well. What I need from you is to make sure that the assumptions are right, or that the logic is correct. So that's what you get from other people.
So as you're getting into new industries and new expertise, and I have this question of me today, hey, do you have oil and gas expertise? And I'm like, okay, well, how do I get around that? Not really. So how do you get around that, or how do you kind of address that whenever you're talking to people?
Yeah, what I do is, obviously, if I haven't had the experience, I haven't had the experience. But there's so much information available online, and there's some fantastic templates that you can download, and LinkedIn is a great place to go. You have connections. I have thousands and thousands of connections. I have access to people who know this stuff, and if I have any questions, I can go to them, or I can post a discussion on a LinkedIn forum, and watch YouTube videos. And there's just so much information out there. That's one place I go, or I just make sure that the client or whoever I'm working with has been through every detail of the model, so that you're not working outside the boundaries of your skill set.
Gotcha. And I've had a few conversations in the last week that have kind of framed up my thinking on this. First off, a few weeks ago, I had a conversation with Rob Colley, Power Pivot Pro. We're thinking about doing some work together, our companies were, and we're asking very specific, do you have experience in K through 12 or all these different industries? And his answer was pretty much what Jordan said earlier. Hey, that's not my job. You guys have the expertise on that. My job is to know the tools. So, yeah, that's on you. And I heard an interesting thing also. Whenever I chatted with Miko Yuck at a conference just last week down in Orlando, it was kind of a data visualization expert. That's her job. That's full-time job is to make eye candy. To make cool things like that. And
yeah, she's amazing. Yeah.
And one of the things that she said when a very similar question was asked a little bit differently, not necessarily for a specific industry, but for tools. How do you come up against the question of do you develop in Tableau, but do you know Cognos, and do you know this tool, and do you know that tool, this visualization tool or the other? And so the way she's solving that is she's going and creating the same dashboard in 10 different tools and putting it on her dashboard or putting it on her website just so she can say the tool doesn't matter.
That's
the sort of things
true.
Measuring matter.
Bring your own tools kind of world. How's my audio?
BYOT sounds great.
Much better.
Sylvia, I love that.
Well, that's very true, but that's not often what clients want to hear. So it's refreshing to get that validation from the panel here.
So Danielle, would you mind talking a little bit about the training courses that you put together on your website?
Yeah, so when I started out, there wasn't anyone running financial modeling. Well, it was barely called financial modeling back then. So this was in probably 2003. I think I ran my first training course at Sydney University. Wanted to run a course for like a public course for professional development. So I ran a course for them and realized how much I loved it, and went on from there. And so I do a lot of public workshops. So I do generally Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, and also in-house. So I go into organisations and run a financial modelling training course for them, or build a financial model, or teach them how to build their own financial model. That's kind of that's the aim, is to do myself out of a job so that I don't actually have to build the models, that clients will be able to build their own financial models in the future. So a lot of what I do is live. I was in Dubai last week, so I ran a 5-day financial modeling in Excel course over there. But then of course not everybody can access. I can't sort of get access to so many people, so we actually do online courses. So we just do the introduction, intermediate, and advanced financial modelling. You've got it up there on the screen, I can see. So it gives people an introduction. So starting from a fairly low, someone who's really new to financial modelling would start with the introduction course, or you can jump straight into the advanced, or start from the intermediate. So they're sort of the most popular courses is these online training. Yeah.
Awesome. So also over on our website, right now we have where this episode is playing right now. Down here in the comments section, we had mentioned the possibility of someone having the opportunity to maybe winning one of those online courses. Would you mind?
Oh, yes.
A little bit?
Yeah. I thought I'd give one of those away, so you can choose whether you'd like to do the introduction, the intermediate, or the advanced online training course. And what I thought, just to kind of get everybody over there, is if you put in a comment about financial modelling, and we've been talking about the skills for being a good financial modeler. So I'd like to know what your opinion is on this. About what do you need to be a good financial modeler? Is it just Excel, or is there other skills that you need? What do you think is the most important? So hop on over there and put what you think you need the different sort of skills for financial modeling are. I think that would be an interesting topic. What do you think? Oh, you've spelt it wrong there, Rick. You've called it a modeler with one L.
Oh yeah, we'll edit it in post. We'll add an L.
No,
We'll have our
it's
guys
fine.
draw one in.
We had a bit of a problem with the URL because I was spelling it with two L's and Rick was spelling it with one L, so we had a bit of. I always have that problem because it's in the topic of my book is about financial modeling, and it's got two L's, and my editor went in and was edited in the US, and they went in and changed everything to one L. So I always have that problem, but the British spelling has got two L's.
So in case you missed it then, just kind of recap that. If you can come down here into the comments section of this episode, come down here to the comments section and just answer that question. And from, what do you need to be a good financial modeler, what sort of skills are needed, et cetera, and of all the different answers that are here, someone will win.
Yeah. So is it just Excel, or what other kind of stuff, like all the stuff we've been talking about? Yeah. And actually, a bit of a hint. I've actually got a recent blog post about that. So if you want to head over there, it might give you a bit of background on it.
Hey, we're all for cheating. Not at all. So.
But just thinking about other skills. So we always talk about financial modeling. If you're going to go to a client, what are good skills, Danielle, that you would say when you're talking to a client? How do you approach them, and how do you talk to them? Because they know something that you don't know. How do you find out information from them?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Sure. So you're approaching a client for an engagement. Yeah. So you're approaching a client for an engagement, and clearly they know a lot about some domain knowledge, like in some case real estate modeling, oil, energy, and gas. How do you find their assumptions? How do you learn more about the problem?
Yeah. It's really important to define what those assumptions are, and to talk through exactly how it's all going to work, and then I'd sort of talk through it. Usually they've got, I would love it if somebody would start with a blank piece of paper. That never happens. They usually say, hey, we've got this financial model, it's not working properly, or usually they've got something to start with. And so I spend some time going over their models and then talking to them. But I would love it if they would just say, hey, we're starting completely from scratch. But that doesn't usually happen. So I would, say, what are the drivers? What are the assumptions? What are the inputs? What are the outputs? And then it's very important, I think, to make it a collaborative process. So you would go in and build something, build some formulas, build sort of structure the model, and then, show the client how that works. Say, is that what you had in mind? Is this, how it should be calculating, depending on how much. Some people don't want to get into that much detail. I was going to say it's important to know the points of best practice in financial modeling, and I noticed on that page that on the page where we're live right now, you've got a link to my 7-day course, which is just like a really, really brief snippet of best practice in financial modeling. So if people want to get started on, knowing what financial modeling is and what are the points of best practice, mostly it's just common sense. It's just inputs and outputs and linking, all that kind of stuff, all the basic stuff of financial modeling. You can sign up for that free course. So if you click on that link, there's like a little, I noticed there's a little image there, so you can find out more about financial modeling there.
Yeah, it was crazy. But whenever we were kind of preparing all of your products and et cetera to be able to kind of talk about them on the show, gosh, not only did you have the 3 courses, you got the LinkedIn group with 40,000 people, which is just crazy amount of people. In addition to that, kind of the webinar, the free course as well. And the book that you've been putting out for a few years. So it was even a struggle finding the right one because there's been so many versions of it. So you've been
2 versions, yeah. So it was I wrote it originally in 2010, and then I updated it for 2013. And I'm just getting up the I'm just trying to figure out whether I can face doing it all over again for 2016.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I have a series of data here. You see I have something called values. I generated some random data because I love doing that for these problems. Now, anytime you have a data set that you need to do some sort of exploratory data analysis on it, what is one of the first things you like to do? Well, what I like to do is to create a histogram. Now, there's some ways you can do that in Excel. Obviously, you can create formulas to create a histogram. There's that stats add-in pack, which I really don't like. Here, I'm going to show you a tip using pivot tables, and actually, someone taught me this while teaching a class. So I was teaching the course, and they said, hey, you're making this histogram in a very hard way. Here's a really easy way to do it, and boy, I'm glad they showed me how to do it. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I have this values column. I'm just going to hold Control, Shift, hit that down key. Now, that's just going to select everything, so I'm going to go insert a pivot table. I'm going to hit OK. So now I have my values column. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this over into the rows column. Now you see that that has picked up all my values. Now you're probably wondering what is that next step? I'm going to grab the values, drop it over into my value column. Now one thing you'll see here, and I think this is Excel 2013 and beyond, and not necessarily before, it's going to come up with the sum of values. Now I think in the previous ones it'll default to the count. Either way, what you're going to do is you're going to click on that drop-down arrow, go to the value field settings, and we're going to change it to count. So now you see we have a count of all these values. Not particularly useful. We see some of them appear one or more times. So what can we do here? Well, this is really the trick that someone taught me, and I am so glad they taught this to me. I'm going to right-click right here. You see it's going to pop up something that says Group. I'm going to click Group. Now, most of you know grouping in terms of date. You can group months, weeks, things like that, years. Here we can just use groups into bins. You see that I have bins here. What this is saying, we have the starting at, that's the minimum of my range. We have the ending at, that's the maximum of my range. And then we have the standard bin, it says 100. So I'm just going to keep it like that, and I'll click OK. Now you see that Excel has made a set of bins. So it started from -12 to 87, and then it goes up by 100 all the way to the end. And look, this actually, if we're just looking at it right now, just looking at these values, it has some nice normality, which is what I would expect because I used the normal probability distribution to generate these numbers. But hey, that's not really enough. What I'll do is go to the Analyze tab. So I've clicked into this pivot table, went to the Analyze tab. I'll click Pivot Chart right here. You see it's going to come up with a column chart, and boy, isn't this great. Now I have this very easy histogram here. We see there's some right skew, but let's say I don't really like my bins. I want to make some different bins. I'm going to right-click here. I want to get a little more precision. Hopefully my right-click works. There it goes. I'm going to click Group again. Now I can change that bin. Boy, do I love doing this. I'm going to hit OK, and you see that it updated automatically. So actually what looked like a curve before has a few weaves and bobs in it as we expand out. So we can always just make it smaller too. You would do it that same way. Right-click, go to Group, and I know I'm heavy on this, but I want to make sure as you're watching this that you remember those steps. I'm going to hit OK. There we go. So I think this is a great way to make a histogram, make it very quickly, easy. You already have the data. You can change the bins easily, and you have a dynamically updating chart. Who could ask for more? That's, for me, that's everything an Excel spreadsheet tip should be. So,
Wow.
That's great.
Just
So you
Hey,
can actually
I
start
sold
it
it
from
hard.
0 if you wanted to, couldn't you?
yes, you could.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah. So maybe one should. I figured to go with the defaults this time.
Yeah.
so everything in Excel tips should.
That's great.
Yeah, I sold it very hard though. I really pushed that hard on you guys.
Zoom through it, sell it. The next up, what's happening? What's happening in your neck of the woods? First off, a few weeks ago, Amsterdam Summit. That's where we met Danielle for the first time. And if you go over
San Jose, yeah.
yeah, so that was a few weeks ago. So if you go over to the past business analytics, you can see, we were fortunate enough to be the media sponsor there. So you can see Jordan's interviews with the keynote speaker, day number 1. If you click on here, you can see everybody who's, all of the different videos that we did there. There's Sylvia walking around talking to different attendees, and so there's just a lot of different videos here and conversations that we had while we were on the floor, and there's still more to come there. Also, there were just a lot of great speakers there, and a lot of people asked us here on the panel here, how can we get your latest and greatest presentations, et cetera, spreadsheets? So those are now over there on the speaker session. So if you go to any of those, click on the person, look at the links there. You can see all the presentations and everything that they did, including mine as well. Next up.
Yeah, mine's up there now, I think, too. Yeah.
It's hard to do whenever sometimes you finish these, 30 minutes before you're walking into the door. You're doing the final touches on them. I'm telling on myself a little bit, but that's how it goes sometimes. Next up, the Amsterdam Summit. Gosh, that's happening now. So I believe that started on the 26th. Join us for a fantastic event. This is happening now or right about now. So a lot of great people over here at the Amsterdam Summit. Go and check that out. Pricing there, so you can find that at topexcelclass.com. Up at the very top, topexcelclass.com is the Amsterdam Excel Summit happening right now. Next up, I want to bring your attention to this, to Danielle's page here. So if you come over here to the home page here, show you how to navigate here in case you're having a hard time. Oops. Click on the Excel TV logo. Come over here to full episodes. Excel TV Season 3. That'd bring us to Danielle's page. Now, in Danielle's page, what I want to bring your attention to is not only what we talked about a little bit earlier in the episode, as far as leaving your comments down here. You can see Ricard is already from Corality is watching tonight, and so he put his comments in there. He's anxious to see you over there, Danielle, a fellow Aussie. But in addition to that, all of Danielle's products can be found here. So if you want to check out Danielle's products, some of which we talked about on the show, instead of having to go to different sites to kind of check them out, you can just click right here, and it will take you to some landing pages for some of her products. Everything from the book that was mentioned a little bit earlier, to her free course that she talked about, to kind of the bundling of the courses. Gosh, where's that at? That's right here in the beginning, intermediate. If you click on any of these, it'll take you to kind of a landing page where it'll give you a little bit more information, so you can kind of shop around and see if that's something that might be that you're looking for. You can just hit the Learn More button. You click that Learn More button. That'll take you right to Danielle's website, where you can go ahead and get more information, probably watch some videos, and get an idea if that type of teaching style is right for you. So go check that out. Start it at the Danielle page in season number 3. Let's stop sharing here. Jordan, I believe you had some news as well.
Sure. So last episode, we found out that my wife, who's been working on her PhD for a while now, she actually just got a job, a tenured track assistant professorship in Long Island at Malloy College, which means that I am moving to New York City. So we found a place, an apartment already in Queens. So my update to you is actually where I'm going to be working, because I'm very proud and happy about this. So I'm going to be working for a wonderful organization called DataKind. For those of you who don't know, DataKind helps other DataKind is a nonprofit organization, and they help other nonprofit organizations complete data science projects. So I will be sort of part project manager and part data scientist, helping to lead projects in that space, with working with nonprofits, NGOs, and social organizations. This is a really fun company. I'm very excited to be part of it. And if you're in the New York City area, you should reach out and let's connect. And the great thing is the founder of this company, so I'm going to just switch back to me real quick. The founder of this company, Jake Porway, is buddies with Jer Thorpe, who was the keynote speaker whom I interviewed at PASS. So they were buddies at New York Times. They knew each other. So it's very, very cool. Very big in the data science community. I'm very happy to join it.
Congrats.
Thank you.
For that, Jordan. Thank you for that, Jordan. I believe, Danielle, you also had some news around the meetups that are happening in the financial modeling community.
Yeah. So I mentioned the LinkedIn Financial Modeling in Excel group, which is probably one of the biggest financial modeling groups on LinkedIn. We started the meetups about a year ago, and they're growing great guns. We've got them all over the world. So obviously I run Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, and they're growing really quickly. We had one the night before last. in Sydney, which was great. We've got Melbourne coming up next week, and Brisbane is actually tonight. Yeah, tonight is Brisbane. And but we've also got New York, and we've got Delhi, London, Amsterdam is going well, Johannesburg, so all over the place, and just because it's really nice to get together face to face. You know, this online is fantastic. You know, we can learn so much online, but it's really nice sometimes to get together face to face. So if you're in any of those locations, we'd love to see you at a modelers meetup. So that you can find if you go to LinkedIn and go to Financial Modeling in Excel, you'll find us there, and you'll find a link to the meetup. So we'd love to see you there. Or there's lots and lots of locations that I didn't mention, of course. So if you'd like to start your own, that would be great. I'd love to support you in doing that.
Wonderful. So they can get a hold of you over at your website or any of your social channels, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Twitter, and actually we just started the other night to Periscope our meetup, so that's something you might want to watch out for. So if you're following me on Twitter, which is D Stein Fairhurst, I Periscope the meetups. So we tried it out the other night, so that with moderate success. So I'll get better at it at figuring out how to broadcast live. But we've also got I've actually got the Financial Modeling Facebook page, but it's two L's, and don't forget it's plumsolutions.com.au. Don't forget the AU, because I'm based in Australia, and so I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn and all of those places, of course. So I'd love to connect with you.
Oh, wonderful. So so next up, where can you find us? Gosh, we're all over the place. But in addition to that, we have a LinkedIn group. And as I was looking at our LinkedIn group, gosh, 650 or so members, mostly Excel MVPs, and kind of compare that to what Danielle has going on over there in LinkedIn is kind of inspiring. So Danielle, I'm going to share my screen so that you can talk a little bit about your group and where people can find you.
So we put discussions in there, so we've got lots of fantastic people. So, if you're stuck on a problem to do with modeling or Excel, or, just a kind of, anything to do with financial modeling, really, if you start a conversation, it's a great way to meet people, to learn more. Gosh, we got 22 extra members since I last looked. So it's a great place to learn and to hang out and to meet more people online, or to meet them face-to-face at a meetup.
22 more members since the last time you looked, which is about an hour ago. I've said that exactly never. So congratulations, and I understand you're also certainly on. You said Periscope as well, and I looked a bit at that, what you're doing on Twitter. Would you mind kind of, for those who are also trying to figure out what that is, would you mind explaining a little bit about what that is and what you're doing out there on Twitter?
On Periscope, it's just a live feed. I think YouTube does a similar thing where you just have the phone. I did it the other night at our meetup. So if you follow me on Twitter, it just tweets out to say that we're broadcasting live, and you can click in, and similar to XLTV where you can actually view. So it's like being there at the event. So we kind of walk around and talk to people and say hi, and then of course stream the speakers. So if you can't make it, but I was kind of reluctant to start doing that initially, because I thought, well, maybe nobody will come to the meetup, so they'll all just sit at home and watch it on the stream. But of course, it's always better to be there live. So it's good for people who can't make it, or if you're in another location, you can get lots more meetups than you would otherwise get.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Danielle. Whenever I first came across you was, a few years ago, whenever over on another website that I have where I was putting a list of the best Excel books together, and your name kept coming up as being one of those best Excel books, even though it was more of a financial modeling book. And so to get to meet you,
it's financial modeling, but it's Excel,
Definitely, and to get to meet you a few years later, whenever at the Past Business Analytics Conference a few weeks ago, Sylvia introduced us and had a chance to kind of meet you and talk with you for a bit. And I think even Sylvia interviewed you for a bit. It was nice to finally put a face to the name and what I've heard so much about you, in the industry. So thank you so much for being on the show tonight. We certainly do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And I was so glad that I went all the way to California for the conference. I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic.
My favorite quote of yours, and I'm gonna do the quote wrong, but it was something to the effect of the best part of being at the conference was the fact that you had a 20-hour plane ride home that you can just data crunch the whole time. It's just phenomenal.
Because you're offline. It's offline. But now they have Wi-Fi on the plane, so you're not even off. I quite like being on spending a really long plane trip because you're completely cut off. You've got no connection to the internet. But now they've added Wi-Fi. It's kind of it kind of spoils a little bit.
No cat videos, nothing. So.
Yeah.
Financial modeling. So thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Rick.
You're very welcome. And we're going to close the show up. Episode 44 is in the can. Episode 45 will be coming up next month. The month of June. So in about 3 weeks or so, episode 45. But until then, this is Rick Rantham, along with Jordan Goldmeyer and Sylvia Uhas, reminding you to keep on excelling. We'll see you next time.